All right, the holidays are over, and in my last video, we talked about this guy. Did an unboxing and kind of a playtest. The PlayStation Portal continues to be fairly impressive. Really easy solution for playing around the house, playing in bed, what have you. I like it. It's not the greatest thing ever. There are a couple problems that we're going to talk about in depth more today. We want to talk about, as you've probably seen from the thumbnail and the title, the comparisons of this guy to this guy. Right? This is the PlayStation version of the Backbone controller, right? In my iPhone 13 Pro, and then the Steam Deck and how remote play works with Chiaki. Now, I want to be upfront. This is an LCD Steam Deck. Maybe one day I get the OLED. I would have already got one if I could afford it, but those are pricey, and I already have one that works really well. And I've already done like putting a terabyte drive into it and all that. So I decided, hey, we're going to use this. What we're going to do today is we're going to try out all of these solutions for remote play. Remote play is really a thing that a lot of people now are getting into because so many gamers are getting older, right? Core gaming audiences are actually like my age or my brother's age, right? In their 30s. You know, I have a lot of friends now who travel a lot for business, and they go, hey man, like I want to get a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally or a Backbone or a PS Portal. Like, what should I get? Because I want to be able to play games when I go out of town, when I have to go to like Atlanta or to New Orleans or to New York, you know, for whatever business trips they might have to go on. I get it. Like when I go to Disneyland, and that's like an hour and a half away, I bring my Steam Deck usually. We may have other options now. Steam Deck is a great on-the-go device. The Backbone is actually very impressive, but we're going to talk about all the strengths and weaknesses and show you guys gameplay to break down exactly what's going on with each one of these devices today. If you enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We'll take it from here. All right, so while we're loading up, we're going to talk about exactly what our testing and the pros and cons of all these are going to be. So our testing is going to consist of 5 games, I've decided. They're all going to be running digitally. I do have the disc for Elden Ring, the PS4 disc in, because that's what I bought it on and got the free PS5 upgrade. But we're going to start with God of War Ragnarok for each one of these. Do a little bit of gameplay, like 1 or 2 minutes. Then we'll go to Elden Ring, then Spider-Man 2, Destiny 2, and Horizon Zero Dawn, because Horizon Zero Dawn, from what I've seen, is the most problematic, although it's kind of iffy if it's actually problematic or not. And we'll talk about that. God of War Ragnarok, we talked about this last time. Now, the thing with the Portal, the pros, it feels ergonomically brilliant. The controller feels like a controller, and if you like the PlayStation controller, it feels excellent, right? Now, when I look at this run around, this is the Snow White area. I think we did this last time where it's kind of an area that's very, very white. So it's kind of hard to see, but we're going to kind of stay in the same area because it does kind of lend itself, right? We can kind of see this, boom. You can see some axe, do one of these, right? Now, one of the things I did mention is this looks almost like a retina display. Right, that's one of the really brilliant things about this thing. It is obviously not capable of HDR, which is a thing, and the high frame rate modes, from what I've heard, can cause problems, but we are leaving on high frame rate mode for everything right now, just to keep the testing all even. Functions pretty well, right? And with all of this being said, from what I'm seeing here, and basically what you're seeing, is this is functioning flawlessly. The other positive about this is that there's the haptic feedback. When I turn this, like I feel the sled, like I can feel it in my hand whipping from left to right, right? The vibration goes from one side to the other, to the other, to the other. And it really immerses you in the gameplay. So if you're a Sony fan, you're a PlayStation person, this is absolutely something for you because you want to make sure that you are having, I don't want this audio to come through. The audio on all of these is okay. The Steam Deck is best, but you know, that's just how it is. But yeah, the screens are unfortunately a little hard to capture, but in terms of like frame rate, you can see frame rate is very solid, very smooth, very little latency on these, any of these options from what I've seen. But the PlayStation Portal is a very easy solution. You can take it outside the house, which is good. But the main drawback is that there's no internet browser, which means that if you're in a place that requires you to hit one of those like, hey, I approve, continue on to the online, like if I go to the gym, that happens on my phone, right? I'm listening to like music on Spotify, I use the Wi-Fi or Apple Music, or if I'm just listening to podcasts on YouTube, right? I'll use their Wi-Fi. And I could not use this at my gym. All right, so we've got Elden Ring open, and I was kind of in the middle of something, but we're going to head back to the first step, the very first area you walk out into in the overworld of the game. Here, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go. You see I'm in the end game here. I've got the tree burning, all that. Spoiler for a year-old game, by the way. Oh, 2-year-old game, by the way. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to summon Torrent, ride around a little bit. You can see it's gorgeous. I mean, this game is gorgeous, hands down. I was just talking to my brother about this earlier. The art style of this game is so ridiculous. This is running excellent. And again, with this, right, this doesn't really support the haptics. Oh man, if they did that in the DLC, that'd be awesome. I assume if you turn these off, by the way, you get a lot longer battery life. And the good thing about this is that it does have quite a good battery life, and it's super easy to set up. That's one of the things I do want to add as a pro. Aside from the firmware updates, which is like, you plug it in, you're charging it anyway. It's going to take like, 20, 30 minutes to get all the firmware and everything updated. I assume it's doing the system, like the tablet and the controllers at the same time. And that's why it did two. I didn't think about that before. Yeah, we just see that I have really solid performance. And it's actually, yeah, like here we're starting to see those little hitches. And those, again, those are not the portal. Those are from Elden Ring. Like in God of War, there was not really any hitching at all. Spider-Man 2 is, the big Sony game right now. And this is one of the ones that people will probably be playing if they've got a portal. And we did this a couple days ago. I'm just going to do a refresher, like I said, 1 or 2 minutes. The screen on the portal is not really being done justice here. I would say it looks like twice as good as it looks in this camera. I mean, it really does look excellent. And the latency is really impressive for just like a little native device. Whatever they did, I don't know if it's on the software side or the hardware side or whatever they've done to make this link to the PlayStation and be so fast is really remarkable. I'm not going to say it's game changing, because in terms of like what the real difference would be, it'd be like, whether or not you die in Call of Duty. Like if you're playing Call of Duty on a portal, like what are you doing with your life? So we see it's operating again. This one it's like flawless. It's not really blurry. There's no lag. It really is just looking excellent. And it's just hard to top the experience because of the screen. Like the screen is just so big and nice. Like it's very nice. And it feels like playing a PlayStation game because I have the haptics. Like I feel the web going to the left and the right. And if you haven't ever played on a DualSense, and you're watching this, first of all, what are you doing? But secondly, like, if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't played on a DualSense is really like the most next gen thing about the PlayStation 5. The haptic feedback is so good. It changes the way the games play. That is the biggest draw, I think, of this thing, is if you really want that PlayStation premium experience, the PlayStation 5 experience, you need the haptics, and you're not going to get it from the backbone, and you're not going to get it from the Steam Deck. Steam Deck can do okay, but it's not even close to a DualSense. Like, I want to be 100% honest. So, this is Spider-Man. Very cool. Now, we're going to go to Destiny 2. Now, one of the things about Destiny 2, right, is this could be the same thing, like, maybe, I don't know how Call of Duty works now. I don't know. You guys have dailies. I assume there's probably dailies like in Warzone. Destiny, you have like daily bounties and stuff you can do. This could be a good thing if you're trying to keep up on the game, like a live service game like Destiny or Warframe or something. You decide, hey, I'm just going to get the portal to do that and have an easy time doing it. This is a game that you cannot natively play on the Steam Deck. It's no longer on Game Pass. So the options would be like getting a ROG Ally, which is nice, but you could do what I did, get the 64 gigabyte Steam Deck for like $350. And then put a 1 terabyte drive into it. And that's gonna be $450 for a 1 terabyte Steam Deck, which is gonna, I don't care what anybody says. The Steam Deck is still the best handheld, just mainly because of the OS. Steam OS is absolutely better than that mobile Windows they throw. We're just gonna go on to, I go to the starting area, right? This is where I always test everything for this game, just like builds and all that. We're just gonna go around, see how it performs. Now, this area is also notorious, at least on PC, for being really hard on performance. And on console, it's actually fine, as far as I know. Like, I don't really ever see anything lower than 60, but on PC, I'll run everything in this game like 155, 160. And then I get to this area, and it'll be like 90, like it's struggling, right? It never goes under 60. So that's probably why the PS5 can handle it so well. But here, we're just running around. This is going to be one of the nicer things because Destiny always loads you in a specified spot in an instance. And so it's not like Elden Ring where like the exact point where I saved, that's where I'm going to spawn up. But yeah, you could just run around, do Destiny. Again, no latency, very little or very little latency, excuse me. No choppiness, no frame drops or anything like that. Just feels very smooth, very nice to play. And this one does also have the haptic feedback. I wonder if when they did their PS5 update, they were already in the talks with Sony, because the haptic feedback on this game is pretty solid. It's not as solid as like God of War Ragnarok. Like that's those haptics are not Spider-Man, like where you feel like the web pulling you like from side to side. Overall, right, this game's another game where the art style is very cool, right? It's not super realistic, but it's got some cool enemies. It's got some cool areas. That was a little hitch right there. It's kind of strange, but that could be, I think everyone's online. So far, not done that, but this has been overall really good performance for like one spot for like 2 seconds having a little hitch. In all this time we've been playing, it's been like 10 minutes or so. You do that and boom, we start to see like there's not really any problems playing any of these games so far. So the Portal, again, being a really easy solution might be good for you, right? This was the big thing that we want to talk about at the end, is like, what's going to be good for you as a consumer? Because like these all have different things. They all suit different needs, right? Now, one of the other things that is kind of cool about this is I believe that you can boot from your phone, like use your phone as a hotspot and then do this. So like if you are at a place, pretty sure you can use your phone as a hotspot and play, if I'm not mistaken. Because I've seen people playing in their cars and stuff. Unless they have like an actual dedicated mobile hotspot, which that's also an option too. Like if you're a person who just happens to have a mobile hotspot, then that could be an option you could use. This is one of the reasons why, and this is one of the areas in PC where it slows down, is when you see all these enemies coming. But this overall really, again, solid performance. Let's check out the problem child, Horizon Zero Dawn. And Horizon Zero Dawn, at least when I first saw like people playing with the Portal, they were saying, oh, that game's kind of weird. Just claiming like, oh, it's terrible. It was a little blurrier the first time I tried it. I was playing it not too long ago and it wasn't bad. Like I didn't notice it really. It started clearing up immediately like the first time I played it, like when we were doing it on the last video. And then it ended up being like something that I was like, oh, hey, actually hasn't really had too many problems since, but we just want to test it out because it has been the one known to be the most problematic, at least from what I've seen widespread reports. Right now, this looks beautiful. Beautiful. No blurriness. Looks incredible. Yeah, spoilers if you haven't seen like Burning Shores. It's beautiful. Here, we'll take to the sky too. That was a tiny little hitch. Can we get our, yes, we can. I remembered how to play this, by the way. I was struggle bussing last time because I hadn't played this in like 6 or 7 months. Basically, I finished DLC, had a bunch of other stuff to play this year because last year, 2023. But overall, this is probably the most beautiful game I've ever played. How the foliage is rendered, how the lighting is done, the volumetric clouds up there that you can actually like fly into. All of it is just amazing. And I absolutely love just the story of Horizon. I don't want to spoil it. If you haven't played the Horizon games, I would highly recommend it. Aloy is just like a badass and it's a very cool kind of female-led story. She's just super rad. Yeah, and we just have like all the, like, look at all these trees. It's just so cool. I put way too much time in this game in 2022 and then not enough in 2023, sadly enough. Go here, but just trying to give you all just an opportunity to kind of check this out. Like look at the clouds and the light. Like you can't even see it, but man, look at that. That's just the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. I remember seeing Nintendo fans going, that's CGI, looking at the game, and I try to be like, no, that's gameplay. Like I've played that game for 140 hours. Like that's gameplay. This just ran flawlessly today. So the first time I booted up, it was a little blurry in the beginning, and then it kind of cleared up. Today it started up. Maybe it's, I don't know. You can't explain it, right? It's streaming. Like streaming gameplay is never going to be perfect, so keep that in mind. But PlayStation Portal, really good, solid test today. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Backbone. So I'm going to get that set up, cut for right now, and we'll come back to the Backbone, do the same set of games real quick, and you guys can kind of see. All right, so now we've got the Backbone set up. It really doesn't take too long to connect, right? I just disconnected the Portal, connected the Backbone, and I was ready and raring to go. So we're loading into God of War, right? Same area. It didn't save, so we're in literally the exact same place. Now, the cool thing about this is that this is a Retina screen, right? Because it's an iPhone. Now, you probably have a really nice screen if you have an iPhone or an Android, and that's really cool. This is going to be nicer. The screen is nicer than the Steam Deck and the Portal. That is a benefit, huge benefit. The haptics, there are none. There are none on the backbone. There's no any kind of vibration, no kind of anything you do has anything like that. The buttons up here are very squishy. The front shoulder buttons, the back ones are okay, but they don't really have any kind of click. They just kind of slide down. The front ones are okay. They are a little clicky. They're kind of tactile, right? They feel good. The sticks are really actually very responsive as well. And there's very little latency. One of the things I noticed about this is that there were far fewer drops, right? Portal, you get one or two, like I said, oh, there's a drop here, drop there. I don't think I've played anything and seen a single drop on any game I've played streaming my PlayStation 5 in my home network. Now, the other advantage that you're gonna have with this is, right, you have a home network, and just like the Portal, you can take it out on Wi-Fi. But if you're in a decent service area and you have like 5G, you can also just take this out of your pocket and play. Right? You don't need Wi-Fi with the backbone because you can use your phone signal. The bad part about that is that the phone is being used, right? So you may be like, okay, well, I mean, if you're like me, for the sake of this video, right, I turned it on focus mode, do not disturb. Want to make sure that, there's not going to be alerts and you're not going to see any of my friends' phone numbers or anything come up while I'm recording this. In a real scenario, like, do you want to do that? Do you want to have your phone being taken up and either having your gaming interrupted, right, constantly with alerts, right? Because I get texts and calls and emails and like alerts from Twitter, like for deals on games and stuff, which you should be following a bunch of accounts if you're not already. With that, it just basically amounts to, hey, are you going to want your phone either being blown up like while you're playing and have to like dismiss alerts and all that? Because I've had that happen when I don't do not disturb on this. Or do you want like your phone being drained and then your main line of communication being drained? Like if you're out and you don't have like a backup battery, right? I've got a backup battery like right over here off camera that I take when I go on any day trips or anything. But if you don't have that, you're just like at work and you're like, oh, I'm going to play it. Oh, I have like an extra long break at work. They gave me an extra half hour lunch and you're playing, using your battery. And for me, that's just like a no bueno thing. Now, again, if it's somewhere I was going out to work, right? I work at home, but if I was going out to work, I would probably just bring the battery with me if I thought to bring this. It looks, again, phenomenal. I haven't seen any drops in frame rates or anything, but it's kind of small. It's not the most ergonomic thing. The ergonomics on the Portal are phenomenal. Like I said, like I can play a PlayStation 5 controller for hours, and like I haven't been able to do that on anything but a Wii, the Wii U. The Wii U Pro Controller and then the Switch Pro Controller. Like Nintendo makes the best Pro Controllers in the world. But the DualSense too. Like the DualSense, super comfy. I can actually play on it for hours like a Nintendo controller. This I could play like maybe an hour. I could see myself because it's very small and I don't have the biggest like hands in the world. My fingers are kind of short. My hands are like okay size, but my fingers are short, right? But even then it's still like I feel kind of cramped and all this. But overall, performance is fantastic. And then the other thing that's really weird is there's no really onboard way to use, like a PS button. So you have to like do the screen thing where you pull it up and then, right, to get out of our... How do we do this? Oh, and this is the other thing that's awful, right? So I can press the PS button, but then I have to dismiss it to really see what's on the bottom. That's just terrible. And if you don't have a controller, you can use it remote play with the thing on your screen, but it's just so much better to have this. I will say this is, it is comfortable, but not for very long, at least in my opinion. Okay, so now we're going to check out Elden Ring again. The one thing I do want to say is there's absolutely no detail lost on the screen, and the HDR, I believe, does come through. I'm pretty sure. I know they implemented it on like Chiaki for Deck on the OLED Steam Deck, and because these are basically OLED screens, they do have HDR. So the HDR does come through really well. Everything on this screen, hands down, looks better than either of the other two options that you're going to have, right? And again, remember with Elden Ring, we are looking at the game having the frame rate issues. It's not the streaming. I think this is so consistent because the Portal has Wi-Fi 5 and the original Steam Deck has Wi-Fi 5 as well, right? From what I've seen. The iPhone 13 Pro that I'm using has Wi-Fi 6, right? So again, we're just kind of running around on torrent. All the particle effects are in the air. So that's one of the things that like in the late game can cause you like more frame issues, which is I'm really glad I'm using this now to test because like Limgrave is just a bad area with all the grass for frame issues in the first place. And it's like each area has frame issues, and it like I can tell it's for different reasons, right? Like in Caelid, there's just like there's so much grass in Limgrave. In Caelid, there's so many textures and little like bumps and cracks and everything from like the rot. In Liurnia, it's just like the draw distance is so massive that, you know, you have that issue. But yeah, we're seeing here like, oh hey, it's looking really solid. Again, it has the in-game, you know, frame rate issues, but you're not really gonna see that too much. And on a phone or even a small screen, it's not really the worst. It's really bad on like my OLED, like to the point where I'm like, man, they got to fix the PS. Like I know it's been out 2 years, but I'm really hoping with the DLC they fix the PS5 like frame rate issues. And same thing with Xbox. I know Xbox has them too, but Xbox VRR does a really good job of smoothing them out from what I've heard. But the PlayStation 4 version continues to be like the superior version just because it's doesn't have those issues because it's made for old gen. So we'll kind of save here. Now we're going to go back to Spider-Man 2. And again, the worst interface thing. Having to press the PS button on the screen and then close. That is just a terrible, terrible design. But I get it. You can't really, I mean, where are you going to put it? Like here? It's too many buttons, right? You can't put it on the back. There's not really anywhere to put it. Only place I could see is like if they put it like here somehow, right? Back here. I love that every time you start Spider-Man, there's a new like start screen. Like there's something else going, like Miles and Peter are hanging out at night or whatever. It's a very cool feature of the game. I cannot wait until New Game Plus comes out because I'm going to play it. I got to play my ultimate playthrough before New Game Plus comes out. But here, this screen absolutely touts the other. Like it just towers over the other two. The PlayStation one is very nice. And the Steam Deck screen for an LCD, like an old school style LCD, it's like 800p is very nice. I mean, this is an iPhone screen, right? And I you know, iPhones they have brilliant screens. Like the Retina displays they've had, you know, for the better part of a decade they're gorgeous. They do such a good job at just having color pop and stuff like that. I messed up on my web swing there, right? Yeah, overall, again, we're just kind of seeing that. We did the combat test last time on the Portal when we did the unboxing and kind of testing on that. And it held up well. There was very little latency. But yeah, we get to see again just all the beautiful like stuff that goes on in these games being conveyed really well on all these devices. There's like so little latency on this. I'm shocked, right? The Portal has little latency because like they use some weird proprietary method. At least that's what they claim, right? To kind of help the things help each other. The Portal helps the PS5 and the PS5 helps the Portal like get the information over. But this is just awesome, right? We've seen Spider-Man, so let's take a quick look now at Destiny 2 running on the backbone. And Destiny 2, like I said, your main thing for Destiny 2 is if you're like me, I'm very I don't want to tell you how many hours on Destiny 2 I have on Steam, but I'm very casual Destiny 2 player now. And it's like they just had an event, so I'd hop in every couple of days and get like 1 or 2 weapons. I think I got the newest weapon. Like next year I can get it to drop or something. When we talk about Destiny 2, right, the main thing for this would be like, hey, I'm going to do like my strikes for the week because I'm out of town. I'm going to do a couple bounties a day, right? Make sure I get my gameplay in to keep like up with the FOMO of the live service of it all. I'm a very casual player. For me, that's what I would be doing. Are you going to do your main Destiny grinding on a backbone or a PlayStation Portal? Probably not. But again, we're going to go to the EDZ here. We're checking out like how it looks. This is like, you can see like the highlights look different because it's an iPhone screen. Now you might not be able to see it, but I can see the highlights and things like that all look different on here because it's an iPhone screen, right? It can transmit that OLED. And again, right, we're just kind of come around here. I think I was playing PvP last, that's why I have this loadout on. But boom, I have always loved this gun though. This is the first exotic quest I got in Destiny 1 was for this gun. A friend of mine was like, oh, there's a gun that does damage over time. We were both playing and we were roommates. Bentley, I remember the old Destiny games with you, man. But yeah, he was like, oh, it's one of them's like a poison gun. It's a damage over time gun. I was like, I want that one. What's it called? So he told me like you had to get it to drop from a bounty and then do the bounty, and it took forever. And man, it was the worst because you needed like a specific like element kills or something. Like you had to use a specific type of gun, and if you didn't, you wouldn't get the kills, and it wouldn't count towards progression. And it had to be PvP, and because that was the lore for the gun. But again, this is running beautifully. I wonder, it's like every like 5 or 10 minutes, there's one of these events where the enemies just start piling up everywhere. So like, here's one of the things. I switched guns. Is that? I don't know how to do. Oh, I'll bet you. Actually, I don't know how to do it. That's actually a good question. Oh, maybe it's. Oh, here we go. I figured out how to do it. We go up here and then we double tap on that. So that's me just not being able to figure it out. We are going to talk about an added bonus of this. Okay, so the enemies aren't here. That's not too bad to figure it. You know, it took some doing there to kind of figure it out. Oh, look, there they are. Enemies are moving against each other down in the corner right here. That tells us, hey, they're about to start fighting, like Russell Crowe. Like me for my parents' love. All right, so with this, we're seeing again an area where like this can chug. I don't know if it chugs on console, but on PC, when this happens and there's tons of stuff going on, because I run everything on Ultra on PC. I've got like a 4070, so I'm sitting, you know, real comfy with like headroom on stuff, and I got like a 5900X, right, and a Ryzen processor. Overall, like I've got tons of room, and I'm really bad at this game on the sticks. But yeah, it's operating flawlessly. So this is one of the things that the Backbone is really, really impressive in terms of its performance. So we're gonna try the last one, if I can get this thing to come up, which was Horizon. All right, remember, we've got Horizon running, and this one is the problem child. So we're gonna see again, I don't see any blurring. I don't see anything that looks bad. Man, this game looks so good. Spider-Man looks really great too. By the way, Spider-Man 2 looks phenomenal, but I don't know, Guerrilla is just like, that team is capable of black magic. Cause like, right, it's like people were asking the Nintendo, like the Zelda team, like how they possibly made Tears of the Kingdom run on the Switch, which is like, yeah, because the game design and like the expertise required to do something like that is just insane. But I'm looking at this going like, man, how did you get this to look like this, right? And have it run as smooth as it does. When I'm playing this on my OLED, you know, it goes in 120 frames mode, right? It's not 120 frames, but I can play it, you know, it'll hold like 70, 75 frames for like almost everything. Again, we're just kind of flying around looking at this. I figured this is a good test, right? Because you're covering, you're getting a lot of stuff to load in. Especially with the foliage, as they say. Discovered a Dreadwing site. That's good because I need Dreadwing parts for something or other, I remember. And there's a signal over here that I ran into. But all these buildings and stuff, they're loading in perfectly. They look great. My cat just jumped up on my chair because he's a jerk. Sniffed my leg with his cold nose. Glad his nose is cold. It means he's healthy, I think. That's how it works for dogs. But man, what a pretty game. Again, this camera's never going to do any of these screens justice, but this screen is the best. It's just, the thing about it is, do you want to play on a screen this small? Because it's the best looking, right? So you got to kind of weigh that. Now, theoretically, like you could probably do like an iPad with a remote play app with, you know, something like that, but I don't know. But this runs off a specialized Backbone app. I don't know. We'd have to see. But overall, this is not having the issues that were reported, or like that I had the very first time I booted it up for the first couple seconds. Like I said, after that, it cleared right up. And now every time it's loaded perfectly. That's the Backbone. Now, one of the added benefits of the Backbone, you may have seen, I can go on Game Pass. And this is something I try because I swear I keep going and I like download this game and I try to love it, but it just starts boring me. But if you have Game Pass Ultimate with the same Backbone app, you could just slap that and then you could stream Starfield. You can stream anything that they have on Game Pass streaming, on Game Pass Cloud Game or Xbox Cloud Gaming, excuse me. And it loads up and we'll just cut around to when the game loads. This is actually really impressive. 1 more minute to your game. So now, as like I said, an added bonus to the Backbone is that you can connect to Game Pass Ultimate, right? And if you're like me and you get it from CD keys for $3 instead of $18, it's actually super worth it, right? So like I could play Starfield. Now again, like I keep falling off on this game because I'll play it for like a half hour and be like, okay, like it just doesn't grab me. But you see, like I put like 40 hours into it. Initially, it says like 1 day, 15 hours. It's about 40 hours, right? It's 39 hours. I put about 40 hours in this game, and like I started playing Cyberpunk, and I was just like, oh, oh. But the cool thing is, if you are a fan of Starfield, you know you could do this. But the other thing is, like, there's great stuff on Xbox. Like I was playing Cocoon on here, right? You can play Tunic on here. If you like Hi-Fi Rush, I didn't care for Hi-Fi Rush, but if you like Hi-Fi Rush, but if you like Starfield and you want to grind a Starfield, this is like a cool thing that you can, an added benefit of the backbone. We want to talk about this because it's just an added benefit, right? Versus the $200 portal that can't do this, right? Whether or not you like, you know, Starfield, if it's like mid or whatever, the fact that you can do it is what we're talking about, and that's super important, at least in my opinion. So just wanted to show you that as an added benefit. You can connect right to Game Pass Xbox Cloud Gaming if you have Game Pass Ultimate, and boom, you're like right in there with your games. So keep that in mind if you do want the backbone. The sticks feel really good, buttons good. The top buttons are kind of weird. The face buttons are good, they're clicky. The D-pad's okay. The need for the touchscreen on the face, that's kind of weird. Let's get back to the testing of the Steam Deck. How about that? Okay, so we've got the Steam Deck going now, and we're gonna start again with God of War Ragnarok. The Steam Deck is just such an impressive piece of technology. If you have a huge Steam library, like I have like 250 games, you can basically play a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them on the Steam Deck. And now we're using a program called Chiaki for Deck, right? There's originally a program called Chiaki, and then they updated with Chiaki for Deck to really optimize how it connects with the PS5, and the results are very impressive. This screen also does look very clear. It is not quite as colorful or as vibrant as the other two, as it is in a little bit of an older LCD panel, but it still looks fantastic. It's kind of hard to see. Man, it does look really good. Obviously not as good as the other ones. I'm wondering if, you know, we can adjust color settings and see some improvements, but remember, this is a blown out, like, you know, white part. Let's see, I'm gonna drop the brightness. Let's do that a little bit. Maybe that'll help you guys. Yeah, it looks a little better now. I think it's just too bright. So again, we're just gonna kind of take the dogs out to the lake, see how it goes, see if we get any, you know, with this fast motion, we get any lag. I was playing this, I got this set up yesterday. I played Horizon for a while, and it felt great. With this, I can play Elden Ring natively, or I can play it through the link, but you can't do that with every game. Like Horizon Forbidden West is not on PC yet. God of War Ragnarok is not on PC yet. To play them on your Steam Deck, you actually need to use Chiaki for Deck, or Chiaki. With this, I'm not seeing any drops, and the latency is really not bad. I would say it's like a hair longer than the Portal, just like the phone. The Portal just has some special like thing that fights latency because it's a PlayStation native. The latency here, I would say it's maybe 50, 100 milliseconds. It's not very much, right? Whereas Portal is probably like 50, like hard 50. It's just not very, there's not very much latency in any of these solutions, if we're being honest. Now, again, this is in like optimal settings in my home network, right? And my PlayStation is hardline. That is one of the recommendations for all remote play, is that you hardline your PlayStation to your Ethernet. So if you're going to play on Wi-Fi, your PlayStation to Wi-Fi, and then that's going to Wi-Fi out to your device. That's going to cause you some issues. Perfect. Now, the thing about the Steam Deck 2 is you can like customize where you put your buttons, and you can even add gyro. I had to turn it off because, man, it was annoying. I accidentally started up Elden Ring before God of War, just out of habit. So, because I've been playing that, and like I play too many games. Like I still got to play all of Baldur's Gate. I got to finish it, right? I'm trying to finish this before the DLC comes through. I'm trying to finish Cyberpunk. Like, just playing too many games. We're going to see Elden Ring again. And like I said, with Elden Ring, the big thing about this one to keep in mind is that the game itself, because it's the PS5 version, has frame dips. Cool, we're still on torrent. We can hop off, take a look around. Very nice. I mean, man, it's beautiful. And like I said, this is the worst looking screen. The Steam Deck still looks fantastic. It looks better than a lot of the other solutions. The 800p screen for this size is really just like perfect. My opinion, when they say like, oh, the new one's like 1080 for the ROG Ally or 1200p or whatever, I don't feel like that's necessary at all. I've never been playing the Steam Deck and been like, man, I really need a higher resolution on this size of a screen. You know, like the Portal is like a 1080, and it's like I don't notice any difference. Right, this is a tiny bit smaller than the Portal, but like they look, you know, in terms of like the resolution and everything, it looks effectively the same. Yeah, just kind of coming around Limgrave, we're seeing, there's the normal like little like frame pacing, frame drops that the game normally gets. The other cool thing about this is there are the options, right? You could see the frames in the top left. It's going like 60, 58, 56. On the PlayStation, like you won't see that because the VRR takes care of it like the Xbox. But there are times where it gets real bad. It'll go down to like 45. And the PlayStation just can't handle that, right? But yeah, we're just seeing here, it still looks fantastic, right? It's nighttime, so maybe a little bit harder to see this one. But like you could see the trees out there. I circle around my character. I mean, man, look at that. Like, it's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. So let's check out Spider-Man. This one I showed my brother. He was very, very impressed. Oh, Elden Ring is weird. Like, I don't know if it's one of those things where like delete your progress if you don't save it the right way. So I don't want to take that chance because I've had that happen before and it's not fun. I used to have PT on an old PS4 and then people, and by people I mean my brother Chin, unplugged my PlayStation one too many times and had to completely wipe the drive to save the whole PlayStation. So PT was no more. I'll forgive him one day. One day. I'm kidding. I don't really like think about PT anymore, but that would be cool to have, So Spider-Man 2, we're getting into this again, like a different starting screen. I love that. It's just like a cool thing. Every time you come in, something different. I'm really looking forward to New Game Plus on this. I want to go back to it. I love the Scarlet Spider suit, and this like black variant is just like the coolest thing I've ever seen. So that's a lot of what I used for my playthrough was like the black Scarlet Spider suit or the regular Scarlet Spider suit. And we'll just do a little flying again. We could do a little ping. Boom. Man, it looks so nice. Like this game just looks very nice. But it looks really pretty sharp. It's not as sharp as the phone, definitely. And it's a little bit more dull. And again, that might be the resolution, but I don't think so. Like really on this screen, like it's not going to affect how I play this game. Like I want to put it that way. I honestly don't think it's going to affect you. Like the fact that you're playing Spider-Man on a handheld Spider-Man 2 is just super cool. And remember, this can play Spider-Man 1 natively. That's one of the biggest positives about the Steam Deck is, hey, I just don't want to play my PlayStation games. Well, like you can have like right now I have 1.5 terabytes of other stuff on here. I have, Super Nintendo and N64 through completely legitimate means. I have my Steam library, like I can play Heroic Games Launcher to play my Epic Games library. There's so much you can play on a Steam Deck, which is why I think it is like the best investment for a gamer on the go. And I finally convinced a buddy of mine who was talking about like the Lenovo Legion and the ROG Ally. He's like, oh, I think I might get those, man. And I was like, trust me, just get a Steam Deck. He got it and he was like, yeah, thanks, because it's just so good. Like I told you, it's kind of like an Apple phone. It's a little more modular. Like you can do all that. But now we're getting into combat finally. We're just gonna do it for a second. Boom, we do a finisher, and now I'm just gonna bounce out. And boom. Man, what a pretty game. It just looks great. Again, not as good as Horizon. Horizon's still like the best looking thing I've ever seen. Maybe Senua's Saga or Senua's Sacrifice or whatever. Hellblade 2, right? That might be the one that like actually beats Horizon for like how good it looks. That game is looking mighty nice, and it's also a smaller linear game. I don't think we're going to see something open world that looks better than Horizon for a long time. Maybe Death Stranding 2, maybe, but I doubt it. Like Death Stranding looked great, but they're using the same engine, and it's Kojima, and he's got a hell of an art style. Like he's got an eye for just like creating creepy or like kind of unusual visuals and stuff. That's Spider-Man on the Steam Deck. And again, we're just remote playing. This is just super cool, right? All of this has just been through a remote, but you know what? I think like God of War was super bright. Yeah, so I think this is, like kind of dark. Like now that I'm seeing it, that it's not God of War. So we turned up the brightness a little bit. Destiny 2, if you're one of those live service gamers, this could be something you could use. You could hop in and play Fortnite and play like a game. If you have like, the missions they do, like, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna be out of town for the week, but I want to do my weekly missions. Yeah, you're not gonna play like, you're not gonna win, or you're probably not gonna win. But you'll be able to get your missions done, and that's a plus, right? And again, that's like kind of the thing with these live service like Destiny, like Fortnite. If you're playing a remote play, you're probably doing it just to keep up on something. It's not like God of War where you can like play the whole game and really get enjoyment out of it. So we'll again go to the EDZ. All right, so we've loaded back into the original starting area of Destiny 2. And again, this is running really nice on the Steam Deck. Really nice. And it feels good. It feels good on the Portal too. But I feel like this one is like one that, you know. The other added benefit is if you have a game that runs really well on your PC with the Steam Deck, you can remote into your PC, which I don't know if you could do with the Backbone. I'd have to look into it. That would be really rad if you could. So I would love that, and I would do it all the time. Just like load into Steam and then remote into my computer. That'd be awesome. This guy just got some loot for me. Cool. Thank you, sir or madam. But yeah, we're just running around kind of like, well, I'm so bad at first-person shooters on sticks. Just so bad at them. Because I hammer thumb. Like I just go like full left or full right? Like I don't do this. Like I will say, I think you can change the dead zone, but that would be one thing. Like maybe it's just this game because it didn't feel weird in the other games. And again, it could just be me like being a person who hates to play first-person shooters on thumbsticks. But it just feels weird, like doing these turns and stuff. So that'd be something I have to change. It like zoomed in a little bit. The aspect ratio is a little off, so I'm gonna have to reset that before we continue with the next thing. But that's something to keep in mind. The functionality, and this is all because I think this is because I picked someone's profile for a controller, right? This is one of the things about the Steam Deck and Chiaki is that it requires a lot of setup. And if you don't like setup, this is not going to be the option for you. But with that setup comes the opportunity for customization, right? I can put any button anywhere I want. And yeah, you can do that on PlayStation anyway. But here it's like I have every button. I have 4 buttons on the back, right? So if you do want to try and do like competitive multiplayer or something, you know, and you're one of those people who use like a pro controller, this has those pro controller buttons. There's 4 of them on the back, right? So you can use them. And I assume that's for like, you know, bigger games, like stuff like the old MMOs and like long RPGs like Dragon Age, where it takes a ton of buttons. This is running really well. Again, I'm going to take just a second here to figure out what I did to zoom. Oh, I think that's a back one. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Someone might do that. Stretch to fill. So like, oh yeah. Ah, yeah, I see. Oh, you know why? It's because the Steam Deck is not a 16 by 9. I think it's a 16 by 10 screen. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I guess, yeah, if you want that, it's not that bad. Yeah, that's very cool. That's a good, again, another thing that you're not going to get with the other players, right? And they obviously have the screen that handles that size. The phone seems to handle it perfect. And the Portal's built for it, so. But yeah, you can, on the Steam Deck, you know, change the aspect ratio a little bit. Like, hey, I wanted the original aspect ratio with the black bars and all, or I want it to fill the screen and it's going to look a little off, but it's not that bad, right? It did look a little funky, but boom, we can see those black bars coming in, going out, and it stretches like the hand out, right? You can see it gets taller and then shorter, right? So it's just all stuff to consider. Again, these are just the options that you have as a consumer, right? If you want to deal with this or that. So last but not least, we're going to try Horizon Forbidden West. Again, man, I wish these cameras could capture these colors, right? And like, you know, you could tell, I don't know what it is, but like this is not that color. It's close, but it's got like a little more orange. Maybe it's just like, yeah, if I do that, like that is closer to the color. You can kind of see it coming through when I block the light from here. It's probably has to do with these lights, but this is white balanced. This I don't think is. So that would explain that. We'll get back to Burning Shores real quick, fly around for another minute or so. And then we'll kind of wrap it up and talk about the pros and cons of everything. Just remind you guys. And then love to hear your thoughts. Okay, we're just going to get our... Okay. Open world jank. Every open world game does not matter. Does not matter. This kind of shit happens in Elden Ring and happens in fucking Assassin's Creed and Witcher with Roach, right? Very cool. Again, well, there's a geyser. If you're on your glider, you can fly up to it. But man, what a gorgeous game. Like reflections of the sun. Like the water, you cannot even begin to imagine, like if you haven't played this game, what this water actually looks like when you're playing it. Even streaming, like if you play this on PlayStation and you have like an OLED TV, it's beautiful. And then the coolest thing that I didn't show, but I just love this. Like this bird can fly underwater, right? It flies down, then it starts swimming, and then you can just straight up, and the camera just moves it perfectly, right? This was my, like, in terms of time play, this was my game of the year last year, or 2 years ago now, I guess, 2022. Look, you see the big the crocodiles, right? But overall, this is, again, no lag. I haven't even noticed a single frame hitch outside of Elden Ring, right? Where those are normal. No artifacting, no blurring, anything for Chiaki. Yeah, I mean, every one of these things is a really great option. Like, if you've got access to them, then that's cool. It's really, really cool. Like, if you got a PS5, any of these is a solid option for you. But let's really get to where we're breaking it down and talking about all of it. All right, so we did a lot of testing. There's a lot of footage to go through there. Thank you very much to James, my editor. You're the best, man. Thank you so much for like getting that to be as condensed as we could possibly make it. Let's talk about what makes each one of these like good and what makes them bad. Real talk, the Portal, very impressive. If you want the PlayStation experience, the premium PlayStation experience, next gen, the controller, the haptics, all that stuff, you got to go with the Portal. Like the haptics, do it. Right? It's what puts it over the top in terms of just overall experience and overall like, hey, this is a PlayStation product. This is you're playing a PlayStation game and it feels good. Now, that being said, this is super impressive. I got this for $50 with a $25 cashback. PlayStation Network card came with it, right? Because it's the older model, the Lightning, and nobody has, or they're not selling the iPhones with the Lightning connectors anymore, so they're trying to get rid of this old stock, right? I got my brother one of these for Christmas, and it was on sale for like $75, versus this was $50 with a $25 cash back. So if you have an older iPhone, and you can grab this if it's still at Costco for $50 with $25 PlayStation cash comes with it, that's effectively $25 for this. This also has a headphone jack here. It has a charging port, so you can just pass through if you are wanting to sit next to a wall, right? That's one thing I forgot to mention. I did talk about the battery, right? Most people, if you're out, you're going to be at like a park and go, hey, like, let me play my game real quick because I'm like just at a park enjoying nature. Let me play a game too. Sure, some people might think that's weird, but I like going to a park and like, I've gone to like parks with my mom because the only video game my mom ever picked up was Pokemon Go. But I'll go with her and we'll walk around the park and she'll play Pokemon. I'm like, man, I can just play a real game. With my phone. It's really, really awesome for the price point, right? The PlayStation Portal is $200. This is $50 to $100, anywhere between there. It's got a better screen, right? Because the iPhone screen or your Android, like if you have a Samsung, that's going to have a better screen than the Steam Deck and the Portal 2. This is easy. It's not quite as easy as the Portal. The Portal is open your PlayStation app on your phone, scan a QR code that pops up on the screen, connects to your PlayStation, you're done, right? Yeah, you got to do the firmware updates, but once you're done with that, cool. The backbone, got to get an app, then you got to link your PlayStation through that app, and then if you have any other things, right, like we showed Starfield, like if you have Game Pass, you have to link each one of those things individually. However, it's still really cool. And that, again, is the big plus, is like, if you have Game Pass, right? It's weird to say, like, PlayStation fan. Yeah, but if you have Game Pass, right? Like, I have Game Pass, I have a PC. So, if you have Game Pass, you can take your Game Pass games on the go with this too. And like for me, I don't pay a ton for Game Pass, right? I mentioned where I get it earlier. That makes me feel inclined to go like, maybe I just keep it now because this I'm absolutely keeping, right? Portal, I don't know yet. This I'm absolutely keeping just because it's like so easy and it came with a cashback card, right? It wasn't very expensive. However, for me, if you're a super enthusiast like me, and you don't mind taking the time, because I want to be real. Steam Deck, This took to set everything up, make sure I got the right profile, make sure I turned what I wanted on and off and all that. Got the settings all set up straight. It took like an hour and a half versus, the Portal. It took an hour and a half because I have a Steam Deck dock that I could plug a mouse and keyboard into. If I didn't, it would have been a nightmare to like slowly type on the Steam Deck thing like Chiaki. And then I also had to go, like, it wouldn't find Chiaki 4 Deck in the Discover store like it's supposed to. So I had to go to GitHub and then get the installer and then type in the special install thing itself and then manually install it from GitHub. And so it took a lot of doing. Right? It took a lot of work to get Chiaki going. But then once I got it going, ooh, it was nice, right? If you are like me, right? Because if I wanted to, I could get another SD card and I could put Windows on here. And at that point, if I have Windows on here, then I can run Game Pass on here. For me, this is the answer. Personally, this is the answer. Again, there's a drawback of if you're a person who doesn't want to deal with all that, and I get it if you don't, because like, there's times I was like, man, do I want to do this? Like, I'll just do Backbone versus Portal. No, I stuck it out though. It was, it was a pain to get it all up and going, but it worked out. And now the experience is great. And this is, that's just like PCs, right? Building a PC, it's a pain. I have a friend who he just bought his PC and I kept telling him, just learn to build your PC. Like, it's a pain, but once you do it, it's like, it feels so good and you know exactly how it works, right? Same thing with this. Like, the Steam Deck is so much work, but once you get the work done, the experience is great and it's so customizable. And not only that, but you can hop out of the remote play right into Baldur's Gate 3 native or Elden Ring native. If you don't have it on your PlayStation, you have it on Steam. I can play tons of other games from my Steam library, plus my PlayStation. Plus, if I wanted to get another SD card, I can put Windows on there and then boot into Windows and then play Game Pass games on it. That is the all-in-one solution. The work. That's the only thing. Getting the whole thing set up for Chiaki, it's a pain. Right? And it's like, there's tons of stuff on the Steam Deck. Like, it takes work to set it up. And then once you do, it's like so cool. The question of the day has been like, hey, which one is the one for you? And I think we just answered it, right? If you're a PlayStation gamer through and through, you want just the best PlayStation experience. You need to get the Portal. It's going to have the haptics. It's going to have a really nice screen. There's very little latency. The connection generally works well, at least from what I've seen, at least all around the house. I haven't really taken it out because, like, to me, that's not a use case that I would use it for. But the Backbone, if you're budget minded, Backbone all the way. You already have a phone, right? Spend $100. At most, you've got a remote player that's pretty damn good, right? Things could be a little better. The buttons, like, especially up here, these buttons are kind of soft and like squishy. These are a little clicky, not very much. The sticks, actually, when you click them, are really clicky, and they're about the size of like Switch sticks, so they're not bad. But if you got big hands, this might be an issue because it is kind of small. But it's got the most versatility, I think, at the price point. Steam Deck, if you want the ultimate versatility, I can do everything. I can play a Game Boy emulator. I can play a 3DS emulator. I can play Steam games. I can play my PlayStation Remote Play if I want to throw on Windows. I can play things like Genshin Impact, or I can play Game Pass, right? Those PC games that come other launchers and stuff that you can't really play directly through Steam, or games that aren't loaded directly through Steam. You can play them. And now I could actually play Genshin Impact on this as well, and on the Portal, I guess, if you have it on your PlayStation. But all that being said, if you're a person who plays Genshin Impact on PC already, and you don't want to like switch over to PlayStation, right? Even though I guess your progress does carry over. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you play something that's only on Windows, right? Once Human's like kind of like MMO survival game that's been getting a lot of buzz around the beta. That's, as far as I know, only on PC. So if you want to play that, you could, theoretically. Steam Deck is the enthusiast solution, like it always is, right? If you're a person who's willing to put the money for a Steam Deck and then put the time into getting it to work, it's just like building a PC. It's going to treat you for a real premium experience. It's not going to be a premium PlayStation experience like the Portal, and it's not going to be a budget friendly but really bitchin' experience like this guy, right? So I'm actually impressed with all of these for different reasons. Which one's for you? Just use those to ask yourself, do I want to save money? Do I want to spend and know I got the best of everything? Or am I a PlayStation gamer who just loves PlayStation and I want to feel like I'm playing PlayStation? And that's the way to look at it. But what do you guys think? Like, seeing all this footage, right? Do you think that any of these outperform the others? Would you like be more willing to invest in a backbone because it's way less money? Are you willing to invest in a portal because you want that premium PlayStation experience? Oh yeah, one other con of the portal, real big con, is you can't use like earbuds. Where I could attach my like new Asus earbuds that I got for Christmas to this or to the Steam Deck really easily because they have Bluetooth and you just like play with Bluetooth and play that, right? You can't do that on the portal. You need to buy the proprietary things, which is really stupid. I get it because there's like latency with the audio. Like it's not that much, but it's enough to be like you're real stickler about it. It can be annoying, but still charging $200 for like proprietary earbuds really sucks. Now, if you're like me, again, I'm a musician and I teach and I have actually in-ear monitors, right, that I use. I can just plug these into any one of these things and it would give me a good experience. But let me know, what do you think about all these things? Which one, if you were going to pick it up, and it doesn't matter price, like I guess price could matter. Like if you go like, hey, yeah, if I give you $500, right, and say, hey, you can pick any of these three. Are you going for the premium PlayStation? Are you going, hey, I'm keeping $400 and buying this thing, right? Because it's rad. Or are you going like the big king and getting a Steam Deck and just doing anything and everything on it? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you and see what you guys think of these like remote player solutions. Anyway, I'm Little Bobby. Thank you guys so much. If you watch this one, I know this is going to be a long one. And James, thank you so much for editing. Leave some love for James in the comments. He's a rad dude and he's graciously agreed to edit my videos for me so I don't have to do it. And ideally, that's one of the things that's been keeping me from doing content for a long time, is having to sit down and edit it. Thank you, James. And thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you soon. And let me know, like I said, down in the comments, what you are picking up if you were going to pick up a remote player. Are you going to pick up a Steam Deck, Backbone, PlayStation Portal for your PS5? Let me know. Thanks, guys. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next one.